now the last round, and the first question will be just mine, that I repeat. What is your definition of corruption? And I would like to add one footnote. You know, again, it's not fun, this sort of meetings, if you do not, if you are not a little bit provocative. So I will be a little bit provocative, if you allow me. Here in this meeting, I heard someone who told me the problem with governance, or one problem with governance, is that it is often the very rich people who tell the poor people how they should restrain themselves. That is, you know, if you are a prideful CEO earning millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars per year, plus golden parachutes and all these things, which are totally legal, so they are totally transparent, they are totally legal, and it's very easy for them then to explain someone who earns $10,000 or euros per year, or 20,000, 20,000?
That's a lot in Africa. That's a lot in Africa.
No, but
$10.
I go beyond, you know, Africa. So because it takes us back to the very definition of corruption. Again, it's very easy for rich people, and I have often observed in my life that it is often the rich people who tell the poor people how they should behave. So that's why it's so important to have your comments. So now I take two more questions. Ambassador Park from Korea, so three. Philippe Moreau-Defarge from me, three, and yourself for last comment, and then we have to Monsieur Cardoudi, and that's finished. That's finished, but for the answer, of course.
Well, first of all, I'd like to pay my deep respect to you, Mr. Mo Ibrahim, for your noble effort to change Africa from top to bottom and to improve the governance to make a development in Africa. Well, actually, I share your point of view to change the governance from top to bottom, but there is another way. There's the change from bottom to top. Actually, Korea was lucky to have a dictator with vision. Well, we had a dictator in the 60s and 70s, but he was less corrupt compared to other leaders in the developing countries, and he had a vision. And you are lucky to have a good dictator, enlightened dictator, but at the last moment, he wanted to continue his dictatorship. So he was assassinated, unfortunately, by the people. So actually, the most important thing is the change from the bottom. And for Korea, with no natural resources, I think the asset for Korean development was human resources. And the point was education. So while you emphasize on the change from the top to bottom, I think there is a need for parallel effort to make people more educated, more prepared for development. So do you have any project to provoke change from the bottom? Thank you very much.
Philippe, rapidement, comme ça.
Mr. Mo Ibrahim, you mentioned two names, Mr. Mandela and Mr. Kofi Annan. And these are remarkable men, but they were not very good managers. What do you do with these guys, you know? And especially with Mr. Kofi Annan, who was a failure concerning management of UN affairs.
Monsieur Cardoudi.
Cardoudi Maroc, je voudrais d'abord féliciter Monsieur Ibrahim pour les efforts qu'il fait.
Sorry, I don't speak French.
Ah, vous n'avez pas la traduction?
No,
So I can speak English, excuse me.
Can you speak Arabic?
No, English. I would like first to tell you that I am really very happy for the efforts you make, because corruption in Africa is really a very disease, a very big disease. But do you think that with education, because I think that if we improve education in Africa, then perhaps corruption will be less. Because we see, for example, even in Morocco, it is for the low corruption, when the people are not educated, they pay to have a paper or something. But when they are educated, they don't pay. So what you do in your foundation for the education? Thank you.
Merci, merci beaucoup. Et un commentaire, mais rapide, hein, s'il vous plaît.
Well, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Salam Aboudrar. Yes, I'm head of the anti-corruption agency in Morocco. Well, first for the definition. Transparency International definition is corruption is the misuse of a position of power or a mandate for private gains. La corruption est le détournement d'une position de pouvoir ou d'un mandat pour des intérêts privés qui peuvent être réels, etc.
Le problème, c'est l'interprétation.
Yeah, yeah. And second, it's a comment after the comment of the gentleman in this table about the peer review. Well, in the mechanisms of the United Nations, there are two mechanisms for the implementation. One, the assessment by experts, and the second is the peer review. And Morocco, well, beginning from the 2 or 3 weeks, Morocco will be subject to an assessment by experts coming from South Africa and from Slovakia. And you know that South Africa we are not in good shape with South Africa. Then Morocco is very badly ranked in all the indexes, but Morocco is willing to make progress and is ready to be assessed by peers or by experts. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. So you have the last word now.
Okay, I'll look at all these questions. Now, to start with, I think when we talked about we got a little bit confusion about corruption and governance. Corruption is not governance. Okay? We measure, as I said, it is one element out of 88 elements. So we must deal with it in the right way. Education is an issue. Health is an issue. What about management of the economy? What about, what is happening in the economy? What is happening on human rights? What happening about gender issues? How long girls stay in schools? How many cases of rapes? How many? All these are important issues of governance. Somehow, there is always this tendency, when we speak about governance, people speak only about corruption. We spend like 30% of the time of this meeting about corruption. Actually, it is one of 88 parameters. So let us deal with the whole picture. Now, the question of benevolent dictator, effectively, what if we have a benevolent dictator, a very good man, a dictator, but a very good man dedicated for people, etc., or doing this or doing that? Fine, this country will score very well in education, will score very well in health, is going to score very well. Look, Cuba has one of the best health systems in the world. Yeah? Correct. So if we're marking Cuba, we're going to say in health, they have one of the best health systems in South America. Fine. Then when you mark this, yet if you mark human rights or you mark democracy, then they score little. It balances the checks. And people judge. Am I better off getting this or getting that? Singapore. Is Singapore a full-fledged democracy or not? Question for people. But they have been very successful economically. They have been this. It's a safe place, etc. So people, we present the whole pictures. We don't judge we only Africa. But you have to look at the whole picture and then pass your judgment. What is more important for me, that is fine. But we need to be honest and open about measuring it's not one area. It's not just democracy. It's not just corruption. It's not just human rights. It's not just economic development. It's not just education. It's not just, it is all of them. And that, I think, how the way to approach the issue of judgment. Now, the question about education raised a number of things here. I'll tell you exactly what we're doing in that area. We have a number of scholarships. We have a full MBA at London Business School, which you know is #1 in the world. I'm biased because I'm a member of the board of trustee of the London Business School, but we score #1 actually. We are #1. Yes. Check the FT. And but we have a full MBA at the school there. At SAWA School of Oriental and African Studies, we have a big program. People are Africans, all for Africans. People look at doing a PhD programs in the relationship between rule of law, development, and governance. Which comes first, which affect what, etc., using all this information and this data. We have summer schools by SAWA staff in Africa. In Egypt, in the American University where Nadia works, we have 4 scholarships. In Sudan, we have 120 women. 120 women from Darfur and from the south. Not from the north, where I come from. They are from the south and from Darfur, the areas who had conflicts. They are going through universities and the foundation dealing with all their costs, fees, food, housing, etc. We're doing that as well. This year, there have been no prize, as you probably are aware. And what we have done is we have negotiated senior fellowships, some kind of a mentorship program. I agreed with Pascal Lamy, head of WTO, Donald Kabruka, the head of the African Development Bank, Abdallah Jani, the head of the UN Economic Commission. They will personally mentor African promising young leaders. We're looking at people 35, 40 years old, very successful, leadership material. We're going to put them for 1 year working with those leaders in their fields 24 hours a day. We said, you're going to sit in your lab. You need to attend all the meetings. You need to know everything going on. We need to acquire skills. We are funding 40 fellowships over the next 10 years with the prize of one prize, which we did not give this year. And that program will continue also, and we'll add to that boat. So we're doing something for education and for training, but you need to understand, I'm not the government of the United States, or I'm not, whatever resources we have, we are really are doing our bit. And I hope if each of you do a little bit of what they have, we can all really move forward in this area. Thank you.